Now to a spike in the number of new coronavirus infections in India. Nearly 10,000 recorded in just one day. There have been over 7,000 deaths there altogether. Both figures, though, are still rising. But despite that today, shopping malls, restaurants, places of worship are reopening as part of the government's unlock plan. It's a three-phase plan to gradually reverse lockdown measures. So we're going to cross to New Delhi, speak to the editor of Delhi-based Hardnews Magazine. It's the South Asian partner of Le Monde Diplomatique, Sanjay Kapoor. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme. The numbers are still going up, aren't they, in India? It's a bit of a big risk, isn't it, reopening like this?
Yeah, this is rather strange, actually. What it's really doing is causing a great amount of panic, because India is probably the only country where it has been opened up where the numbers continue to spike. You know, at the time when the lockdown was imposed on March 24, the numbers are very low. But since then, you look at the graph, India perhaps shows a great amount of spike, probably the third or the fourth, the highest in the world at the moment, higher than what Italy or Spain were at that point of time. So it's a wrong time, and a lot of people feel about it. In fact, in the last few days, I see more panic than I saw when the lockdown had been imposed. And there's so much of suspicion about people who are visiting, or people who are even suggesting that they will come and call. Maids and servants who are employed in various houses are being discouraged to cross over. So this is the first day of Unlock 2.0, as it is being called. Although there's a headline in today's major newspaper, Times of India, that eat, pray, and shop is what is encouraged, but no love, because no hotels have been allowed to open in Delhi, at least, but in other parts of the country. So, you know, it is a very strange situation, and with so much of density and so much of population, a country of 1.3 billion people, a lot of things can go wrong even now.
As you mentioned there, I mean, these measures did come in towards the end of March. I mean, they can't last forever, can they? That would be the argument presumably put by the government.
Yes, I agree with you. They could not. They came in rather early in the sense that they could have waited. And that is what many epidemiologists and public health experts have been saying. In fact, there was a statement which was issued some time back that they should have been better calibrated. They could have brought in the lockdown much later when the spike in numbers were increasing, because world over, when you have a lockdown, the numbers have to get down. But if you look at the various graphs which you can match and provides a context of how the lockdown works, you realize that in India, this is a very, very absurd situation, that the numbers are spiking like crazy, and we don't know when it's going to end. Government agency I think yesterday or day before, came out with a statement that it will take time till September when things start falling, when the number of people who get better and the number of people who get infected equalize. That is their formula. And
so why do you think those numbers are still going up?
We don't know what is going to happen.
Why do you think those numbers are still going up then? I mean, do you think it's just because it's so difficult for people to isolate in India? You
know, like all countries, India was also on a learning curve, trying to learn from how it was handled in China, in Europe, and other countries. But we also had a phenomenal problem, a big problem, which we had not factored. That was the existence of urban migrants. So as soon as the clampdown or lockdown began on March 24, what happened that people who were daily wagers, leading a very hand-to-mouth existence, they started going back to their homes because they could not live in the cities. Factories closed down, their shops, everything where they were closed down, and they started moving. And at that time, the government said, you can't move. And that is what was a major undoing. Now what has happened that after maybe 3-4 weeks of being locked down, these people started walking on the road. Many of them walked for maybe about 1,000 kilometers or more, some on cycles, some on foot, and there was no help. So when they were locked down, that was the time we got infected, many of them. And they are returning to their villages. And those numbers are also peaking, and we don't even know, because the public health infrastructure is so pathetic that is absolutely non-existent. In Delhi, where the great amount of investment has taken place over the last so many years in terms of creating hospitals and every other thing, they are like cracking up. They're getting overwhelmed. And what is happening is that people who get infected are running from one hospital to another, hunting for a bed which can provide them some kind of relief, and it's not coming. So I fear that these numbers will grow. And although modeling is showing by the government experts that it will carry on till September, but I'm not sure how it is going to play out. It looks very scary at the moment.
Sanjay Kapoor, thanks very much for being with us on the programme. That's Sanjay Kapoor from Hardnews Magazine.